Yeah, I'm taller than them. So, as I was hurriedly writing what I was going to say back at the back of the church about what I was going to say about SEP this year, a word that kept coming to mind was growth. This is my 6th year at SEP, and yesterday when I had just gotten home, when I had just gotten my Wi-Fi and cell phone back, I was lying down on my couch and I was watching videos. But I wasn't watching, like videos of games, funny videos. I was watching old SEP videos. I watched my old Testimonail from my first year at SEP, when I was a short little Asian kid with glasses falling down that played clarinet for the variety show. And now I look here, and I'm a taller Asian kid who now plays the trombone and kind of the guitar with glasses that actually fit my face. That's right. So that's one instance of growth, is the one that we get when we move on in age. But growth wasn't just tied into me growing older and to me getting taller. There were three things that I just kept tying back to growth. There was our theme this year, Epic Story. There was just the ragtag family that SEP truly is. And there's the term SEP High. And I'm going to go through these one by one and go deep into those. So I'll try not to take too much time. But I'll start with the first one, which is Epic Story. Our theme this year was Epic Story, and I loved this theme. There were themes in the past, like In Pursuit and Rooted, that were very good in establishing a foundation in God, but Epic Story, I felt, was one that really allowed you to grow with Him. In our theme, we discussed how God was the author of our epic story, of my epic story, of your epic story, everyone's epic story. And in it, He knows everything that's going to happen, everything that's happened, in it, God knows everything that has happened, that is happening, and will happening. That's a better order to say things. And He knows how your story starts and how it's going to end. So one of the things that you have to realize is that one of the things we learned was that even if your chapter right now, your point of your life, is dark, is foggy, you can't see what's going on, you just feel like life is absolutely terrible, we were reminded that that's not the end of it. That doesn't define everything. And that in the end, God's story is one of happiness. It's one of salvation and peace for the rest of eternity. And one of the other things that tied into the theme of Epic Story that I really appreciated was when they taught us that we would be the ones to help God write our future. When you leave SEP, it's really easy to think, okay, that week of camp was fun, now I'm just going to go back to my old ways and pretend it never happened and pretend that nothing happened. During our sermons, Mike Jacobs taught us that it's not going to be easy to come back from SEP and then take all of that with us. He told us that we'll stumble, we'll fall, we'll make mistakes that we shouldn't have made, we'll make mistakes that we should have learned better than that through SEP. But if we rely on God, that can help us take those lessons and apply them in everyday life, and tying back to my message, help us grow with Him. The second point that I wanted to address was the ragtag family that SEP is. SEP has so many people from around the world coming to it, whether it's in SoCal or Tahoe or wherever it is. There are people that aren't just from there. Just in my dorm, I had people from Maryland, I had people from San Diego, which is like 40 minutes away, I had me from the hard streets of Cerritos. We had people from Kentucky, we had people from just everywhere be forced into a small, smelly dorm that by the end of the week smelled so much like feet. And to point out specific examples, my lead counselor this year was Charlie McGregor. And if you don't know Charlie, he's about my height, but like two of me. He had biceps bigger than my head, and that's on each arm. And just an imposing figure, but one of the kindest and gentlest people you would ever meet. And then my assistant counselor was Seth, who is taller than me, and the complete opposite of Charlie. He was logical, he was, for lack of a better word, kind of nerdy. But they clicked, and when I first walked into the dorm, I saw that they were going to be my counselors, and had no idea how it would turn out. I felt that Charlie would rather have us do push-ups, and Seth would rather have us play logic games. But in the end, we ended up playing both. We ended up playing poker and then betting push-ups. I I still actually own my dorm like 39. I've been living it off. And then you look around camp, you see different people from different ages. We have our little mascot, Macho, the cutest little boy out there. And then we have some more mature people, like Pastor Glenn Weber, who was there at the very first, or one of the earliest SEPs in Orem, Minnesota. And just, SEP is great because it takes so many different people you'd never think you'd meet in your life, and makes them a family. Again, it's easy to say that, oh, the people in my dorm, I now consider them my brothers because we spent a week with each other. But it's another thing to really mean it, and I mean it. Because, again, right now I'm just saying it so you guys might not even believe me. But I feel like in the years to come, that's truly what's going to test it. And I look, like Trey was in my dorm, Bobby was our kind of big brother, and my life, even, I'd known them prior to this year, but especially after this year, I can't picture my life without them. And it's that growth. There was a point, 6 years ago, I barely knew Bobby, I didn't even know who Trey was, I think. And now there's such important people in my life. And it ties back into just the extremely good amounts of growth that we experience here at SEP, which is just absolutely fantastic. And to my last little point is the term SEP high. SEP high is that feeling you get right after SEP, where you feel like you've just experienced the happiest, the best week of your life. You feel like nothing could go wrong. You feel like God's standing right there beside you, and that you're invincible against the world. And that lasts, for me personally, about 2 days. On Saturday and today, I feel like I can do anything. But tomorrow when I stop by the library and start studying for the SAT, am I going to feel it? I hope so. But I really pray I do. But it's really easy to do that. People always, as always in the Bible, there's the mountain and the valley. The mountain where you want to be, where you're close to God. And we were actually literally on a mountain, I guess. We were up at 4,000 feet. And there was that. And then there's a valley, which is so much lower. And leaving SEP, you'd think a smart decision would be to, gently walk down the mountain, watch where you're going, make sure you're remembering what you learned up at the mountain. But in the years past, what I've done is I thought I could just jump off the mountain. I thought that I was invincible, and that in the upcoming year, I would take everything I learned at SEP to heart. And then I would find that 2 days, just 2 weekend days after SEP, I was falling into my old mistakes. It was like SEP never happened. And that may seem like such a negative thing about SEP, but it's something that this year we were taught to fight against. And that term, fight, is actually what was used. It's not going to be easy, it's not going to be hard, and I expect each of you here to hold me accountable to it. But learning to land on your feet after jumping off the incredible high you feel at SEP is always difficult. One of the other things we learned here was the parallels between vulnerability and strength. At SEP, on certain nights, you feel extremely vulnerable. I'm going to tell you guys a little secret, and I cried this year at SEP. I bawled like a baby at one point. But right after that, I felt like I could beat Charlie in an arm wrestling contest. And it was such a weird parallel that we learned. We learned that we may feel pain in life, and that sucks. But we've also learned that we can sacrifice because we ourselves are strong enough to go through a little pain for the betterment of everyone else. We learn the difference between selfishness and feeling happy for yourself and only yourself, and the difference between selflessness, where the happiness of others is what makes you happy. SEP this year was a fantastic year. I loved it. And I plan on coming back next year, and next year, the year after that, the year after that. But sometimes it may seem like I'm just talking and talking, because I like talking. I like you talking too, Bobby. And so, I don't want to end on a question, on a challenge, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I challenge all the people here who went to SEP. I challenge all the people here who didn't go to SEP, but would learn from what we're saying now, is that fight the fight. It's going to be hard to take all the things you learn and go through regular life. I know at school, I'm probably not going to, when someone does something bad, the first thing I'm probably not going to think of is praying to God that they be forgiven. That's probably not what it is. But I have to take baby steps to the point where that is what I think. And it's going to be hard. And I ask you now to try it yourselves and to hold each other accountable, because one person alone can't do all of that. And if we as a church, if we as a people hold ourselves accountable for what we do, for what we learn at SEP in the future years, not only will the individual grow, but we as a community will experience such high levels of growth that we would no longer feel that vulnerability. We would no longer feel the pain of just hurting because of the world around us. Instead, we would feel invincible. We would feel that we could take on anybody in an arm wrestling contest. We would feel at one point that you could take on Charlie, that you take on Arnold Schwarzenegger in an arm wrestling contest. And that's what I want each of us to feel. Just the power. And I know the camp isn't for everyone. I know that some people don't like being outdoors, some people don't like physical activity. But personally, I feel like SEP is such an incredible experience that if my life didn't have it in me, I feel like I wouldn't be half the man that I am today. Thank you.